Okay,
No
so
excuse.
we're
At least
recording
you don't
here.
have bedhead.
I do, basically.
All right, call the meeting to order. All right, all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, just push your fingers.
Next item is a roll call. Stipulate that I'm here and Tim's here, and so is Terry Shea, Ariel Hall, and Kirsten. And moving on to the minutes of the meeting, minutes 4.1, we're going to pull and put on the next agenda.
Okay.
The reason for that, Tim, is that that on that minute, you approve, no, wait a minute. We're going to amend, let me see if I get this right. 4.1, we're going to amend it, taking off the regular meeting of, how are we going to do this?
We're gonna, I would say, do not approve item 4.1, the meeting minutes for June 2nd, because we need to fix the minutes to reflect that at that meeting, the two sets of minutes that were there could not be approved because only one committee member was present at that time.
Okay.
And then we will put those two sets of minutes back on the next agenda along with the June 2nd minutes for approval.
Okay.
Okay, you got that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any minutes approved other than that for you, Tim?
Yes.
All right, minutes are approved. 4.2, 3, and 4. Claims and demands.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Find them now. While I'm thinking about the wrought, didn't we have a wrought iron, didn't we pay for the fencing the last, item 21986? I remember a fencing issue, the last claims and demands. Was that something different?
I don't believe so. I think this is the only one that we've had for quite a few months.
Okay, probably just confused between signing checks.
We paid for it, but it's not in yet, is it?
It is, yeah.
in?
It's been repaired. And there's another area that's further west of where the repairs were, where the fencing is bent, but it's not completely knocked down.
Okay, I've been by there recently, I guess. I didn't notice there was chain link fence there, and that's gone now, and that's
Correct.
now wrought iron. Okay.
Correct. And we'll put that in as a claim to that person's insurance that hit it.
On sandbags, just a thought, comment. If we do have a big rain event, we've got people I know who are willing to volunteer in case of emergencies, and we've got a lot of people who wouldn't be able to shovel sand. If certainly it's not possible to maybe bring it up to the emergency preparedness committee that you know, if we could get volunteers out there when there's a bad rain to help people shovel. You know, old people can't do that.
Right, Kirsten actually has put together a whole El Nino preparedness series, and we're going to start putting up pages on the website and on Facebook.
Okay.
And the first one that goes out, we're going to ask that volunteers go fill sandbags, so we have some, not necessarily during the rain, but just an area where there's some
Okay.
pre-filled.
Okay, that's great.
Just a concern that's really not founded in anything, but the sand is behind the fire station, and if everybody needs sand, they can go get it to make cement and that kind of stuff, and rather than sandbags. And so, you know, for the fire department there was observers and stuff like that, but it's unfounded. I don't know that anybody is taking it. And if people came to take it with sandbags, that's perfect.
Right.
If they take it for other reasons, then we're just supplying sand for some people. Just a comment, nothing.
Okay. 22012 Code of Ordinances, are those books that we got?
That is, whenever we pass ordinances, it's our codification for our municipal code. So that is, I think, 6 months' worth of ordinances being codified into the municipal code
By whom? By this?
by American Legal Publishing.
And where is that information?
We put it on the website because they give it to us in Word and PDF. And then there's a book in my office, the clerk's office, police, building, engineering, code. We all have a binder with them.
All right. Is this something we've been doing? This isn't new, is it?
No, it's not new. This is something we've been doing for, I believe, it's been 10 years.
Okay.
But you said it was like 6 months worth, so you only see it twice a year maybe?
Yeah, we do it about twice a year. If we've been approving ordinances, sometimes we'll hold off and only do it once a year. We've been pretty busy though.
Just seems like a lot of money, just, I don't know how many ordinances we've passed, but it hasn't been that many.
It was probably 100 and something pages, and we have like 10 or 15 books that we supplement.
Okay.
22017 nameplates, what were those nameplates?
It was Kirsten's with her admin services manager, and then Courtney's with the deputy city clerk nameplates.
Two of them were $74?
No, there were 4 plates. They're about
I just don't
15,
know
yeah,
what the
they're
cost
about $15 or $20 a piece.
Okay. Just hope you didn't do the mayor pro tem for next year yet.
All we
They
do is
change that.
slide them and switch them.
The
Bottom
bottom
parts are
part.
separate.
Yeah, yeah.
Get burnt once doing it altogether.
Yeah.
They do a good job on those.
Yeah.
Trying to find it.
Mine's cheapest.
He has a little table tent.
Class. All right, take that last page. Write your name on it.
Fold it in half.
Not gonna do that.
On 21,999, the sheriff's department Cal ID member assessment, what is that?
That is the program where they can run everybody through their program. It pulls up all of their, what is it, the federal
So if-
everything history.
If someone gets picked up when they run their fingerprints, it's able to access all of the California state and federal information associated with the fingerprints.
We pay that once a year, and it's $1 per population you have.
Okay. So everybody in the county pays that, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah, it's also part of San Bernardino County as well.
Okay.
I audited it for like 12 years. It's like every other year audit. It's pretty interesting setup.
Sorry.
Back when I Elizabeth Olsen used to run all the grants in that program. She used to
Whatever it
do
was
some
that I
of
was
that.
concerned about, I'm obviously not concerned about it now.
Well, if you think of it later, we can come back to it.
All right.
Credit card review.
I don't see a credit card statement in here.
It's on page 40.
Okay, yeah. Do you know what the charge to hotel unknown no receipt is? Is that?
2 of those, we ended up finding receipts, and they were meals that were had at the hotel and put on a room. The third one, we have not found a receipt for, but
Yeah.
it's like, I believe it's like the $26 one. We haven't found the receipt.
All right. I don't think it's mine.
Their meals were outrageous.
Yeah, I think it was 2 different breakfasts or something that came to that 48 and
Well,
32.
I went to Monterey first, before getting there on Tuesday night, and it was out at the pier, and there was a whole crab, 2-pound crab for $26. Well, I need to get to the hotel, so I went to the hotel and I went to the restaurant, and they didn't have a steak. A chicken dinner was $29. I'm driving back to Monterey. It was ridiculous what they were charging.
And the
the-
hotel was less than nice either. I certainly wouldn't recommend anybody to
Really?
go back there.
And there was,
Usually
San
the
Jose?
Wyndhams are
there was
pretty
only a
good.
taco, I went to a taco stand, which is down at the corner, which
Right.
was the only other restaurant within a mile of the place. I had a car, but I wasn't gonna drive around trying to find someplace. I went to the taco stand and
Yeah.
got a dinner. But I didn't realize there was no choice. You had to take what you could get, and I understand people were either further out towards the airport than we were.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Monterey is nice.
It's the most expensive for what we got I've ever been at. I don't see anything else on that.
I'm going to Monterey again this weekend, and there was an $80 room. This is another, just chit chat, I'll just do it real fast. But $80 a room, and so I called them to see if I can get a AAA discount, and they said, I said, what's the cheapest price? It's $180. I said, it's an $80 room. She says, not this weekend. There's a half marathon on Sunday in Monterey, so the prices now are $180 a room. Well, I guess when the big hotels fill up, they can charge whatever they want, and you pay whatever
And
is
that's
necessary.
exactly what happens when the league conference is in town.
Might be a good idea to next year to try to book early.
We always like at the conferences, as soon as they open up the hotel, because they never charge you, we always just get 6 rooms.
And just hold them in
Just
case.
hold them in case we need
Yeah,
them, so.
I mean, it's just smart, good.
Because they don't charge you, and you have 72 hours to
Yeah,
cancel, so.
yeah, cancel, yeah.
Every year once the All-Star game is done and American or National wins, we book hotel rooms in St. Louis the next day, in case the Cardinals are in the World Series, because you know the dates. So in 14, we were paying, or 13, we were paying 95 a night, and everybody else was 500 a night. So we booked in July, so.
You got 284 and 569, that's hotel. I don't see the airline fare.
Could have been earlier.
I think that one goes on when you actually book it. When you buy your tickets,
So
they
it was on
charge
last one,
it.
so I didn't see it.
Yeah, it would have been done previously.
Did everybody go to the conference but one?
Got nothing else there.
Okay.
Did you go? I've never been to the league.
No.
All right, financial statements.
This again, with the July through September budget, so we kind of went through the budget and did like a cash projection. Probably a little more meaningful.
Which page are we looking at?
41.
Page 41. I forgot to get the variances over a certain amount, but we don't have, other than the building or facility, the variances. Got to take a look at that. A lot of the charges were upfront, so we got to take a look at that one. But everything else is tracking pretty well. Property taxes and other taxes are a little higher, which is good. Licenses and permits is kind of spotty, so 85. Fines coming in good. Investment earnings right on track. Other income down a little, but so I think everything is tracking okay. I think sales tax might be down a little, but I think we'll make up for that in the triple flip money, so we'll be okay there. Because we got the original charge this week, which gives us our triple flip numbers. So I think the triple flip's a little higher, but the sales tax is a little lower. So, and the triple flip is over as of January, so we're good.
We don't use the UUT, and this is revenue.
It's in there. It's in the it's got to be in with the taxes.
Yeah.
You want that separate on this page? If you want, I could separate
No,
that out.
as long as you tell me that's included with the
Yeah.
taxes, I'm okay.
This is kind of like how the statements come out. But I mean, we can add, we can separate like property tax, sales tax, and the bigger taxes if you want to see a better view at it. It's not that difficult to do. It only takes a couple minutes to change the formulas.
Tim, what do you think?
Just trying to make sure I understand the percentage of total budget used is for that period of July through September?
Yeah, it's kind of a work in progress. What we're doing is we're keeping a cash, basically budget as well as a regular budget. And things don't always come in timely. Like I think this year the sheriffs, usually we don't see our first bill till October, and this year it came in September, so I kind of had to adjust that. And so we're trying to just get the timing down of the revenues and the expenditures. Because before we always just compared it to the whole year. So now we're trying to,
Okay.
a little more accurate. And
So you're trying to just
Yeah,
compare it to the monthlies
right,
or to the year-to-date?
right. Because we took the budget,
Yeah.
separated it out by the thought when we would actually pay it out or collect it, and that's how it's entered now.
So basically, everything's under projection at this point.
I think we're a little over on the revenues by about 5% what's come in.
Yeah.
And overall, the revenues are a little under, so I mean, so,
Yeah. that's just right.
so I mean, good on top and good on the bottom,
Yeah.
so. The fire is a little
Yeah.
hard to.
Yeah.
So. Are we gonna get billed quarterly now?
Yes, we'll get
Okay.
quarterly again.
So we gotta adjust mid-year for that.
So everything's adjusted for the new fire?
It will be. Is there like a resolution or something that you guys
Yeah,
need,
I
or
can.
contract? Okay. So
We'll go for it.
we'll update the fire budget now before mid-year,
Okay.
and
Right.
so we'll get that done and
All right.
reflect the new item. Is it a straight 300,000?
No.
It's their other billing, but a million
Yeah.
too, okay.
The one thing that kind of strikes me is the revenues from licenses and permits.
That was a good question Terry had. I mean, we are, by contract, paying Elsinore $600,000 in Menifee and the county. But he was asked if that's gonna be split up, it could be split up,
We just pay the county.
but the county's not billing based on their services, it's based on the contract.
It's based on those specific positions. So the same way that we had it in our contract Exhibit A with the positions with that cost, So we'll see how the first bill comes in with the breakdown, but it's based on those positions. So like in Elsinore, we're paying for, say, a firefighter 2 and 2 paramedic firefighters. They're gonna bill us the actual hours. So we're gonna not see just a straight quarterly 3333.
Because we never saw it in the past. In the past, they had like a grand total of
It depends.
1,000,005.
Right, but
And
but
it
it was a
fluctuated.
different contract at that point.
But it's still position specific, so depending on where the actual Lake Elsinore employee falls on their pay scale is what we'll be paying,
You won't get a pepper, you'll get a,
whatever
20-year
we
guy.
end up with, yeah.
But I don't think it'll exceed the 1.2 million, right?
No,
it shouldn't.
It just seemed like
It'd be simpler if they just billed you the 3, 3, and 3, but.
well, that
Right.
was my question, because in it specifically stated $600,000. I mean, it had the ending numbers for both Menifee County and Lake Elsinore.
It has the Exhibit As, which is what they
Which
call
is-
their estimates based on those specific positions.
Right, they gave those specific positions, which gave you $600,000.
Right.
And
But that's a
Yeah.
give or take depending on what that specific employee is in the pay scale. So they give you an estimate of the pay in the Exhibit As, but it's never come in on exactly what that Exhibit A says.
so it could be more than $600,000.
Typically,
If
they
give you
come
the
in
highest
less.
one.
They give you, in the Exhibit A, those employee positions at the highest pay rate. So if anything, it should come in slightly less depending on what employee is in that pay scale.
But we in the past have done it on the actual. We've gotten the Exhibit A, which said so much, but that may not have been, and we didn't pay on the budget, we paid on the actual.
Right,
And
and that's what we'll pay on now,
on their actual
of those specific positions that they assigned in the Exhibit A.
they can just take one person that's the highest paid one and say that's that person.
So then we would hit exactly what the Exhibit A shows.
That's kind of what the sheriff does too, though. They give you the highest position at each position, but you don't always necessarily get the highest. So,
And what difference does it make if we pay it 3333 as compared to?
I think it's how they bill and how they justify their bills. And
Right, because we pay the actuals, and
Right.
if we just paid 3333, that'd be paying just the Exhibit A divided by the quarters. But by paying the actuals, it's gonna fluctuate back and forth a little bit.
I think that's just the way they bill. So, I mean, like LA County, when you're in there for the sheriffs, it's 1,500,000 divided by 12. And it's simpler and it's easier.
OCFA is the same way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tim, you,
No problem. I'm okay with it.
I was just digressing so you could.
But the license and permits,
He said, I'm done.
but that's hard to budget, hard to project. We always go low on that. And so when you get more at the end of the year, you're happy. So we'll take a look at how we allocated those, and if it's coming in under, we'll adjust.
Okay.
We have licenses and permits, I think also includes business licenses.
Yes.
So you're gonna see a big influx of that in November, December, January, because of all the renewals.
Because we get like almost
Yeah.
35, 40 grand.
Yeah, so we'll be over during those 3 months.
All right.
Okay, investments, Terry.
I had an investment summary that I gave to the girls, but it didn't make it in here, so we'll put it in your box for some reason. And I didn't get the email because I have a new email address. And so we'll give it to you. The investment report included reduced the amount based on the big check we just wrote to the county. We're actually getting a decent rate of return now on our investments, and the fair market value is a lot closer now to the cost, so things are kind of settled down. But unfortunately, the investment report didn't make it into the thing. That's all we have here. Other than what's here, you know, in Citizens Trust, we have about 9,000 in LAIF. We have 109,000 in a CD, which we just keep renewing. And then we have, I think, about 280 or 7 something in the money market account, and about $1 million in the checking, because we netted it off that big check to the county. So altogether, we're looking at a little over $4.5 million in cash.
Just a couple of silly questions. Do you know what who B&T Corporation is?
Which page are you on?
On page 46.
BB&T. Where am I?
It's a certificate of deposit, I think. I don't know who BB&T is, but we can find out. It's either a debt or a certificate of deposit. No, it's a corporate debt is what it is, so we'll find out.
Just strikes me as something that a little odd. Most everything else in here is
Yeah, what we have is
Big
we
stuff.
have federal agencies, Fannie Mae's, Ginnie Mae's, Federal Home Loans. We have some corporate debt, BB&T. I think we had PepsiCo down there at the bottom, and JP Morgan. And then something new this month, they bought an American medium-term CD for 1.6%. But I'll find out who the BB&T is.
It's a banking company.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Alrighty.
It's within our investment policy. They're allowed to buy the corporate debt.
Just,
Yeah.
the only reason I bring it up is it's something I've not seen before.
Yeah, it's unusual. We've always had a couple corporate debts, and those change sometimes, like Ford or Pepsi or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then this is the first time I've ever seen them buy a CD, so that's good. Rates still not great. The
Yeah.
CD at 1.6% is good.
What's there? I have nothing else in the investments.
I'll get you a copy to Ariel of the investment report, and you can put it in your box.
I won't look at it.
You won't look at it,
About
okay.
now. I just noticed that one because it was something I'd not seen.
Okay, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
8, discussion regarding the scope of Administration and Finance Committee. Ariel?
So Resolution 2015-36 is in the agenda packet. This is the resolution that we went over at the last council meeting. And then I went back and made all of the suggested changes from that council meeting. And let's see what page it's on. There is an updated scope suggested on page 64 for the Administration and Finance Committee. So I changed it to read that the committee shall consist of 2 members who shall be council members appointed by the City Council. The Administration and Finance Committee shall study matters related to the administrative and financial policies of the city, revenues and expenditures, and those duties as prescribed in the Canyon Lake Municipal Code or assigned by the City Council, and shall make recommendations to the council. So that's up for review, and I believe the next agenda item also is to discuss possibly amending this scope to include members of the public.
I took a look at the red line of the whole thing. It's not much changed other than adding the administrative line.
Okay, I still disagree with 5 and 5.1. I've sent some emails to the city manager and the city attorney about that. Another consideration, is that on page 54, we have closed session reporting. If we're taking a look at, say, let's go back to page 52. If we're talking about 2 being the order of business and then the agenda, delivery of agenda, roll call, approval of minutes, public hearings, and public comments, consent agenda, placement of council agenda items on the council, and closed session reporting. That we don't have in here anything about, special presentations and proclamations as such. Was there, I thought there might have been an intent, Ariel, that we were going to take out all of the things and say what order the agenda was going to be in and that kind of stuff. It doesn't say we can have presentations or a specific place for that. We do, but do we need to say that?
No, what we did was, there used to be a list of the specific order of all the items that would be addressed.
Right.
That was taken out so that the city clerk and the mayor can get together and maybe put public hearings first or business items first, or reorganize the agenda as needed. And if there isn't any special presentations or there isn't any public hearings, we can actually just take that off of the agenda. So by listing it, we were required to put all of those items in that order. By taking that out and saying here, 2.1.1, the order of the business shall be as contained in the agenda prepared by the city clerk with numbered listings by topic, we can change it and move it around as we need to.
Okay. And I guess it's an agenda item for tomorrow night to be discussed at 5.1 and whatever.
Right, and in item 5.1, the Brown Act says we can't require people to provide their address and things. That's why it was changed to say after being recognized, they're asked to provide their name and address. But we can't
Brown Act.
require them to.
Brown Act doesn't require them to give their name.
Right, that's why they're asked to give their name and address. But it's not a requirement for them to speak.
It used to say state their name.
It said they shall state their name. Now it says they're asked to.
Okay. But in order to, my thing is if you have a document that they fill out, this name and the agenda item, the clerk has to call a person by name.
Right.
It's not it's only a requirement that if you want to speak, you have to be recognized. I just think it's the whole thing of walking to the podium and all of this stuff lacks any professionalism that I've seen.
Right, but legally, we can't even require them to fill out a speaker card. We can ask them to, and we ask them to do it for the record, for the minutes, to reflect who was speaking, but we can't legally require them to do it.
Well, I've not seen yet the case law that says that we can't require them to do that.
I can have Betsy pull some up.
Well, Betsy said she would send,
Right.
she had sent me an email, I think she copied you,
Yep.
that said that she would send me the case law, and I've not seen that yet. She said she'd do it last night or whatever, but
I can find it.
I haven't seen it yet. But the Brown Act says that we can establish any regulation reasonable regulation that we want.
Right, to keep the order and decorum of a meeting, but just because somebody refuses to state their name doesn't disrupt the meeting necessarily.
No, but if you state that, how do you know, other than the people getting up and getting in line, and you can have restrictions. The mayor has, presiding officer, has every right to say, all 30 of you people standing in line there, get together, and I want 5 of you, I want you to select 5 people, and the 5 people to speak.
You can ask them to do that.
Or you can tell
But-
them to do that.
If somebody really decided to push it and not do it, there's nothing we can do to stop them from speaking.
According to the Brown Act, you can.
It's not how I read it.
Hmm?
It's not how I read it.
How do you read it?
I read it that
Everybody that wants to talk gets a chance to talk.
But that's not what it specifically states.
We can set reasonable limitations, as in we can cut somebody off if they're repeating themselves and going on for 5 or 10 minutes. But if 30 people want to get up and say the same thing, we can ask them to consolidate it, but all 30 people have the right to stand up and speak.
You know, in League of Cities, they've said that that's not true, but that regulation limiting the total amount of time allocated for public or particular issues or for each individual speaker. So you can allocate the amount of time. You don't have to have 50 people getting up and speaking on an issue at 3 minutes to go for hours on that. You could say, we're going to have 15, 20 minutes of information. So, and that's according to what I read here and according to what we learned in the past. And I guess that's changed possibly, but that in order to have an orderly meeting, if you're going to have 50, 100 people saying the same thing for 3 minutes, that's not an orderly meeting. You can get that same information by requesting. And there's nothing in here that says, there's nothing in our code that says 3 minutes.
Wow.
There is.
I thought I saw that. What I was specifically talking about was my reading of the Brown Act had in there that you couldn't ask for names and addresses.
You're
You
right.
couldn't demand it, yeah.
You can't demand it, but if you have to fill out a form, you still have to be able to recognize the person. So you can say somebody who didn't sign this form.
Mr. X, and I think you'd still have to recognize Mr. X.
well,
Or
if
they
put down
can
X,
not
that's
put in a
fine.
form at all. Or they can not put in a form at all, and they say, are there any speakers on this subject? And somebody can stand up and say they want to speak.
Well, that's the way we do things. I don't know if that's.
That's allowable. I mean, we
Well,
can't
it's
force
allowable, but
somebody
I don't
to do
think
it.
That has to be.
No. I mean, we should have some type of orderly.
Instead, people sitting out there saying, I guess I should get up and speak, because they're saying, is there anybody else that wants to speak? That's, you know, to me, that's not the professional way of conducting the meeting. That you ask the city clerk, are there any speakers on this subject? And if nobody's given a form, then you move on.
Well, I like the town hall kind of aspect of what we do personally.
This isn't a town hall meeting, it's a council meeting,
I
not
know,
a town hall meeting.
I know, but I understand. I especially
This
understand
doesn't
from
apply
your
to
point
a,
of
this
view.
doesn't apply to a town hall meeting.
Well, I don't know if we have town hall meetings and,
I guess it does apply to a town hall meeting to some degree. This doesn't apply to a town hall meeting.
No.
This is a regular meeting.
This is for, yeah, even for workshops.
But Brown
this is
Act,
for
if
council.
everybody's there, I guess the Brown Act would apply to a town hall meeting since it's a meeting.
Right, if we had all the council members there, it would.
Well, that's something it's just something I'm gonna have to argue again tonight until I see something that says something.
you can argue tonight, John, and
tomorrow.
everybody there will be listening.
Tonight, nobody's gonna care.
Yeah, that's true.
And I can have everybody on my side
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah. Knowing we're not meeting tonight. Okay.
Okay, so page 64 has the scope of the Administration and Finance Committee.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
And going to 9, page 69, discussion regarding possibly appointing members of the public to the committee.
Well, that's my issue. As you can see, our big crowd, you know, to me, what we're doing right here is one of the most important functions of the city council. And we have nobody that's really interested in what I'm interested, which is in policy and in finance, you know, just somebody that is willing to pay attention to the details and make sure that there's no shenanigans going on. It's the one, you know, I don't think in the mental capacity to do this for more than another year. But, you know, it's the only reason that I would hang around is that I want somebody that cares about this as much as I do. Policy and finance is important. And
Is that a statement you're going to be an incumbent now?
What's that?
You said the only reason you're sticking around, does that mean you're going to be becoming
No,
an
no,
incumbent in
no,
the next
no,
election?
no. What it means is I'd like to find more people participating in this process, and find people that are interested, so that we could have somehow get participation in this process, so that there's people that are interested, and people that are watchdogging what's going on, and are interested in policies that need to be updated. And it's the only way I can think of getting more participation. And that's my big argument, is that I want to see more participation on this panel.
I don't disagree with you if there are people who are interested. I would hate to see people being appointed just so we can have a committee, so staff can have 2 meetings possibly with the same subject.
Well, there'd still be one meeting, it would just be this meeting.
So just have, and
Just add.
how would they have input? I mean, they have input if they wanted to come here.
Yeah, but it's something, if they're committee members, they'd probably show up, you know. I mean, if you had, my thought is that if we actually had somebody pointed to sitting at this table, you know, they'd be here.
And they would have the same rights that you as council members that are appointed committee members in approving and making recommendations to the city council as an entirety. They also count towards the quorum. So if you appointed 3 members of the public, at least 3 people would have to show up to hold a meeting.
That's only 1 out of 3. You know,
Right.
I think we could still be relatively sure that 1 person shows up.
Your fire committee, Don didn't attend a meeting, yet they had the meeting.
It shouldn't have happened.
Okay.
I actually have approached Betsy asking for a Brown Act refresher to happen, because Water Committee, we're finding, is frequently held with only 1 committee member, which is a violation. There's no quorum. Veterans Committee, the same.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm not being, I always sound like I'm challenging, I'm not, I'm just trying to,
right.
that there were other people there, but they weren't named by the council to be on
Right.
that committee. So the
Correct.
fact that they were there, and what you were saying earlier, if there are members of the committee,
Right.
they could do that. They
Right,
shouldn't
so-
have happened, I got that.
Yeah. So if they're appointed committee members where they have the right to vote, let's say, to make a certain recommendation, they are officially committee members, not members of the public, and they have to be present as part of the quorum.
Yeah, as I said, I have no problem with people who want to participate. I just don't think we should go out there and beat the bushes and say, you know, you should be on this and you need to be there, unless you think that there's a need for that.
I think there's a need to get, it truly, you know, maybe I'm paranoid, but it truly worries me that, you know, I trust you, John, but I don't think anybody else gives a shit about politics. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. Gives a darn about policy and finance. And somebody needs to be looking over this stuff. You know, we had, how long did Kessler, you know, play on his credit card before he got caught?
Just once.
Just once, okay. But, you know, somebody needs to be monitoring this stuff.
But that wouldn't be me and you and somebody else. It was staff
Yeah,
that got involved in that and brought it forward.
okay.
In fact, Frank came to staff and said,
I did this.
I did this and they
Yeah.
need to pay it back and all this kind of stuff. So it wasn't something that was an audit or
Okay.
something. I think there was a thing from the credit card company. The
Well, and
bank
that's where,
said something.
with the credit cards, we go through and finance staff matches receipts for the actual items to all of the charges, and that's why we were having the problem with not having 3 of the receipts for the credit card.
That's where I wanted to give you my receipt for the hotel. I wasn't
Yes.
looking to get reimbursed.
Right.
Here's a receipt for you to have.
Right.
You know, the scandals that we had at the POA, you know, we don't want to repeat those over the city. And if you don't have people that are interested in what's going on and monitoring things, those are the kind of things that happen.
I have no problem, as I said, I have no problem with that, other than forcing 2 or 3 people to become involved.
I can tell you my thought process there, maybe faulty thought process probably is, you know, if you had some appointments, there'd be some prestige with the appointment. You know, if you had, you know, if the other council person says, hey, you want to participate in government, here's an appointment to be on a committee, that might be enough of a lure to get somebody that's kind of interested in participation.
Always seeing the bears in the woods. That, is it a 5-person council recommendation down to 1, 2, 3, or does each person nominate 1 person?
Oh, you can't. I would strongly recommend against having one person appoint somebody from somebody not on the committee, because then it becomes essentially a proxy. They are here instead of the other council member.
I agree with that. That's
Unless
why
it was
I
all
wouldn't
5 members of the
That's
public.
why I didn't want to bring it up, that we say yes, that we're not going that way. We would then decide that it could be 2 people. Probably a maximum of 2 people.
You could probably do 3 as long as the interviews maybe were conducted at a meeting and the 3 people were selected by the entire group and moved on by the entire group.
A maximum of 3 people.
Yeah.
Whatever the solution is, I'm comfortable with, as long as we try to get participation in this venue, because it's,
I have no problem with that, so we do it at a maximum of 3 people at this point, and then you just have to decide how you get these 3 people.
okay. I would,
Go through the
so
process.
you would go along with that recommendation?
Sure. I said I just hate for us to go out and say, you're going to be on this finance committee now, and they have no interest and don't care.
No, I don't want, you know, that's the point, is to get somebody that cares
Yeah.
to be involved in this process. You know, it's hard enough when you step in as a new council person, especially somebody that's running for council. You step in and here's this, you know, great big thick book given to you, and here's how things work. You know, if you don't understand how things work and have a chance to ask some questions beforehand, all of a sudden you're doing this,
Well, it's a way for a person to get in. In many cities, the way to get in is planning. They were the planning commissioner and planning and stuff, and so they in that, and then they move up into that kind of stuff. And so you could say finance, and
yeah.
Right now,
we
when
may not have a planning meeting, we may.
we've got to nail down a date for planning, but now for the recommendation then, you were saying a maximum of 3 members. We have to set the number to put in the resolution, because that is what sets your quorum. So if you have 2 members of the council plus 3 members of the public, then you have 5, so you have to have 3 members present. That's why I like to go with the odd
You and I
numbers.
not show up, so they have a meeting.
They could.
Yeah.
And with 3 members of the public, if you both voted no for recommendation, they could
Do we do
override
anything
that.
that's important, you know, I mean, we're on the council. If they have a meeting and make recommendations, we can immediately override anything they do.
What we do is so important, that the other 3 don't realize it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay.
Well,
Only problem is if you immediately override them at the council meeting, then they're gonna stop showing up.
Yeah,
that's true.
then
Yeah,
that kind of
I
plays
don't-
into it.
Then you're dysfunctional.
And it's just recommendations to the whole council.
Right.
It's not, nothing set in stone here.
I really don't like the quorum thing.
You can do without.
If you do 2, the reason I like to not go with even numbers, because you end up with 2-2 votes, 2-2, 2-2, and then you
Well,
can't
three's
get
fine.
anywhere. So if you have 3, then you have 5, so it's a 3-2, and you actually get to go somewhere with the recommendations or the
I
motions.
think on this stuff, you know, we're almost always consensus on this stuff. It's just a matter of.
Right.
you
When
know,
we start getting into some of the policy reviews and things, there may be some votes to recommend or not recommend certain things.
Possible,
You know, one of the things, Tim, is I have no problem with change, and and trying something new, knowing that if it doesn't work out, we can change it.
Correct.
And take it back. So I have no problem with that. I have a respect for you, and so, you know, it's one of the things that I don't think if I couldn't make the meeting today, that you'd make sure that everything that you wanted was done, and so you float your stuff right through, kind of thing. I don't have a concern about that. Could that happen in the future? Yeah, but anything can happen. So, you know, I'd go along with this and make that recommendation. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We don't get anybody that could be on the committee,
Well,
we
it
don't.
would- yeah, would be the first time I failed, but I don't know how to.
But it's good to put the option out there. I love options, just love options. And that's an option, and if nobody wants to be on it and doesn't care enough, then, you know, then that's it.
Yep, go back to the way it was.
We're no worse off than we are now.
What happened to our one visitor?
He moved,
Oh, he moved?
Oh, did he?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
See, reaching our age, you either move or die, you know, that's one of the two things that happens. And so,
So keep moving?
Maybe we'll get
yeah, moving's good.
Yeah, keep moving.
Don't sleep in until 8 o'clock in the morning. Have to get a phone call.
Okay, all right, that's okay, so that won't be on until December then.
Well, what we can do is, since the whole item is on the council, during my staff report, I'll say we discussed the scope of the Admin and Finance Committee, and they'd like to make the recommendation to add 3 members of the public appointed.
Okay, so we can talk about it in the discussion.
And then you can add to any of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a review of the entire resolution, so changes can be made.
so that's what happens if we get 2. You said 3. So I said maximum 3, you said 3.
Well, because we want to set, is
I
it
know.
2 or 3? So,
You don't want an even number, I understand that. and
But if you
that's a
would-
good reason.
right.
But that if
It
we
does.
have 2, then we got to beat the bushes to get a 3rd person to be on it.
you could appoint only 2, because if at least 3 show up, you still meet your quorum.
But I said a maximum of 3, and
Well, we're going to say 3 in the resolution, but if you only appoint 2 or only have 2 people interested, then you just have 1 vacant seat, and that's fine.
okay.
In relationship to the issue that was brought up, having council people not showing up for committee meetings.
Yeah.
You know, I had brought it up as a budget item for next year to have an incentive, you know, financial incentive. Is it worth creating that financial incentive now rather than waiting until budget discussion?
We can add it on as, it would be separate from this resolution,
Yeah.
but we can add it on to another agenda.
Did you hear about, I don't know if I talked to you about that, John, what I want to propose, since I'm going out anyway, is that we get some little additional money perks for being on the council. And the one that I think would be more useful to us is having $50 for showing up at a committee meeting. And that way, these little committee meetings that nobody wants to go to, you know, somebody will show up just because they have some, not financial incentive, but, you know, it's important enough to the city that when they pay a few bucks to go, you better show up.
Is that a stipend or an income?
Be a stipend.
Do you have any problem with that? Any thoughts?
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with people that 40 minutes late, people who don't show up.
Well,
You know, it's your responsibility as a council member to be at these things, and
I know, I don't show up. I go to the veterans meeting. I sit there, Vicky does everything. You know, I just sit there in the corner, nod my head, and I don't want to be there, you know. But, and not that $50 is an incentive to get me there. It's the, you know, it may get me there, help get me there, but the main thing is, oh, it's important enough that somebody's paying me to be there, to show up.
carrot's better than the stick than saying you missed it, you owe $50.
That's true.
Well, another option is the water committee and the veterans committee kind of operate on their own, don't necessarily come to the city council for recommendations and things. If we made those not standing committees and it was just an ad hoc that one single council member did with members of the public or other agencies like we do the roundtables, then you don't have a Brown Act quorum requirement.
That sounds
Now,
good
it's
to me.
not advertised to the public as a standing meeting, but if you get rid of those standing committees, then you just have ad hoc committees with members of the public.
Can we bring this discussion to the full council?
Do you want to do it December?
Sure.
And then we can make the appointments in January, so if we need to change anything, we can do that.
Okay.
Typically, they do it all at at the December meeting, but
But I'd
Let's
still,
push it off.
you might still consider putting, rather than waiting for next year for doing a stipend, I don't know. Bring it up as a thought at the next meeting and see if everybody grimaces.
okay.
But everybody's gonna be fighting to be on committees.
What's that?
And everybody will be fighting to get on.
For $50, I don't think so.
Well, just,
You get on 6 committees. That's
Yeah.
4 breakfasts at the Wyndham.
yeah.
Okay. The next group wants to use the room.
Got time already? I have to go up and get ready.
The utility user tax update
What's going on there? That didn't look good.
doesn't look good, looks,
Great, wow.
Really?
Coming
I
in
don't
on
understand it, maybe.
$250,000 a quarter.
Right, the
Looks like we're gonna
first
get $1
page
million
that you're
in
looking at where it's all red on the
Okay.
bottom, that was January through June, so that's when we first started the collection.
Okay.
And that didn't really start until April. People kind of started remitting in March and then picked up. So then if you look at page 74, you see what the study is. Because now we have all of them remitting.
Some things. Because I looked at it online. I don't have a 74 here.
it's,
Oh, here it is. Got it.
Because what we're trying to do is when we give you these pages, this is actually collected for that month. It's always a month late. And so this is, the July is the actual July collected in August. The August is the actual August collected in September. So these are trying to show you the true picture. And then we have a schedule that shows who paid, who hasn't paid. So if someone's not paying, we can monitor it pretty closely.
as you can see from the bottom of the third quarter, which is the first quarter of this fiscal year, $247,000 compared to an anticipated of 196. So we're $50,000 to the good, which is $200,000 for the years. You could be making over $1 million. And if you look at the solid waste at $2,834 compared to $10,000.
Okay.
That's because you won't be getting any of that for a period of time because it's on the property tax.
We'll get the first big one in
So if I
December.
extrapolated, I
45,000.
extrapolated from that, Tim, and did this, which I passed out earlier before you got here, which just says that, that we anticipate that we could be getting over $1 million in the UUT this year, quite easily, if not $1.1 million. And, I projected that out on that over that period of time, although it's hard to tell whether the water district is going to be able to continue with their high rates at 129% higher than anticipated. We anticipated $3 million in their collections, and if you take a look at what the $63,000 is for the quarter, that the people will be paying $9 million, $6 million more in water fees than anticipated, and a 28% reduction in use, which is cut back 28% and increase 129% in cost.
Oh, well. Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Comments, Tim?
No, I think we covered them in the discussion.
Staff comments? Barry, Kirsten, anybody?
We'll have a preliminary June, probably no water adjustments at the next finance committee, which would be December something.
I think it's December 1st.
December 1st.
We'll have the
Terry, if you want, you can
pretty
take a
close
look,
to accurate.
take a look at this
I'll show you.
and see where I'm off.
Okay.
But using the 250,000 for the prior year and a million one, they anticipated.
Yeah, I'll rerun mine based
Okay.
on the new fire numbers.
All right, it's now
9:21.
9:20. Meeting's adjourned.
I apologize again about the